Sound production.
Good evening, gentlemen. It is your boy Sirius. Welcome to tonight's stream. It is going to be an important one because we'll be able to dive in detail on why is Western society going down a very dark path? Who is truly at fault when it comes to this situation? And yeah, okay, I don't want to hear it, whatever. I know there's multiple layers and a lot of variables when it comes to this answer. But no, we're gonna go from group to group to group. And then at the end, you guys yourselves will come to a conclusion on who is actually the group of people that should be held accountable the most. And Sandman is here to dissect the situation. Let me see who's in the chat right now before we begin. I see Boo Boo, what's going on? I see Alex King, Arc Knight, if I said it right. D-Man, what's going on? Welcome back, Shinobi One. And Chitin Chaz, What's good, bro? That's a Warband member. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, I suggest you do. He does great content, in my opinion. Scattered thoughts. What's going on? He says feminazis plus low birth rate plus government equals the downfall. Well, I can't say I disagree. I can't say I disagree. Unless we get some new information in the stream at the moment, you're in the right. Jerry K, what's going on? I see Lanny was good. Father No, what's going on? And I see Father Sanders. He says, good to see you to Lord Jeremy. All right, everybody's pretty much shaking hands, giving the greetings. I see Sai. Sai says, Yeet, Yeetus, and Sandman. Yes, yeet indeed. I see Frost. What's going on? Revan. Who else am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody else. Give me 1 second. I see Red. Red says, who is taught how to control the axis properly? But the confusion in the air sucks and everybody knows it. Or everyone knows it. But once again, we already know that modern women, they thrive off of double standards. Right? To the point where they have the privilege to move the goalposts at any time to fit their narrative. That is no bueno if you want to have a healthy society. All right, I see Sigma. What's going on, Sigma? What's good? I see David. He says, "Enter Sandman." Hell yeah. Where's he at? IY fan says, "What do you think about the conservatives celebrating how they passed a bill that instead of completely screwing us over, only mostly screws us over instead?" Well, I'm not really surprised, right? Politicians are politicians. Ideologies is one thing, right? If you associate as a conservative or liberal or Democrat or Republican or Tea Party or socialist, the list goes on. But a politician is a politician, and I know you know that, IY fan, because I know you're older than me. But everybody in the chat can agree that politicians are two sides of the same coin, no matter what they affiliate with. All right. That's, Tasha Pie says this trailer hits hard. Yeah, I got some dope music. Not as dope as Chronic, but I'll find something eventually. I see Henok. What's going on? He says yeet yeet. ZK Studios. Rusty says this gonna be good. All right, I have to read this very quickly, y'all. Very quickly, so I can add the one, the only. Wait, hold up. We'll add them anyway. We're gonna add the one, the only, Sandman. What's going on, Sandman?
Not much. How you doing?
Today has been a very busy day for me, but I cannot miss this stream. I believe this stream is going to be a classic. What about you?
Yeah, I think we got lots to talk about.
Agreed. And before we begin, there's two things I need to address. I'm not going to skip your comment, Diesel the Weasel. He says pandering simps are the reason where we are now. They're so desperate for puniti. They will give women anything just get a second, and she not even loyal to them or the family. Okay, you're not wrong, but I believe they don't have as much impact compared to simps in power. But we're gonna talk about that later on. Do you have anything to say about this comment, Sandman?
I think it's one of the factors. I think there's probably like 10 or 20 things that are leading to the downfall of Western society.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And before we begin, chat, so we don't interrupt, if you want to support your boy, Sirius, there's a link on top of the chat, Cash App / Sirius, or you can do super chats, or you become a member. Okay, any donation I greatly appreciate. If you feel that My content is worthy of your investment. Thank you very much. All right, Sandman, are you ready to begin?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay. So, like I explained earlier, that there are many variables on why Western society is the way it is in 2023. And I want to break it down Barney style on who is truly at fault and who isn't. And if everybody's at fault, who should bear the most accountability? So we will start with social media. Do you have a say on how social media changed Western society?
Well, it's only begun to change society because the people that it's affecting the most are pretty much uh, Gen Z and the second half of the millennials. So anyone that kind of grew up as a social media native and grew up when they had an iPhone in their hand. So somebody was a kid that was born 20, 25 years ago is going to have a completely different mentality than somebody was born 30 or 40 years ago, simply because, your upbringing was completely different. Not only that, but when you actually use social media as your main, way to navigate the world, it reshapes your mind. They've actually found that the human mind changes the way it functions depending on how it was socialized at a younger age.
Okay, so would you say that social media is the main, how you say,
Well,
it's
okay.
changed? Oh,
Like
what's up?
So you got two things that are really affecting it. There's a guy named Jonathan Haidt, and if you watch his videos, he actually goes into this in way more depth than we can go into. And he talks about how there's two things affecting the youth right now. Number one is they're no longer free range children. Like they're overly coddled. They're not allowed to explore the environment and the society around them. Like, when I was a kid, we could get on our bike and we could pretty much go anywhere we wanted. We could go, ride our bike through the mud down by the river. Today, parents would absolutely lose their minds if they if they found out their kid was doing stuff like that. So, we had our own independence. Like I would come home from school, there would not be anyone there. I'd get in the house. I'd have to like make sure that, there was something to eat. I'd have to make my own sandwiches and make my own food. And kids today, everything's done for them. So that makes them weak. So that weakness in children is gonna kind of carry forward as they become adults. Then the second thing is social media, like we were talking. And social media, the problem with it is it's it's up the suicide rate and rate of depression in young teenage girls. Like it's at least doubled it. And Jonathan Haidt, he talks about how he doesn't allow his kids to use social media until they're probably into the mid to second half of high school. So it's really the formative years, when you're like 10 to 15. Those are the years you want to, like, if you have children, you want to avoid having them using social media.
I completely agree because I am old enough. I would say I was born in a weird year, in the sense of I was able to grow up with both, without social media and with social media
But
growing up.
it's not just social media in general. Like the first half of social media was okay. So when you first started to see Facebook back in the mid 2000s, that was okay because you were using it to contact your friends. It wasn't mobile. And then once the iPhone came out, combined with social media, that's when the real problem started.
I think the first ever thing I did was like AOL. I think that was the very first
Yeah,
social
but
media
that's
type thing I've done.
but that's not social media. That's the internet, right? So that's like dial-up
Yeah,
internet and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, yeah, but
but that's we're talking about, like, there are levels of social media. It's only once we get to things like Instagram and phone-based social media that we actually start to change the culture. That's when the real changes started to happen.
yeah, I agree. I remember my friend named Tom. Everybody had a friend named Tom if you were old enough. Um, It definitely changed the game because of social media. There is not just and once again, women and men, but mainly women. The pool of people that women are able to interact with is not just within her town or city anymore. It developed eventually to around the world.
Yeah, but
Right? The,
we're talking about, sexual marketplace dynamics and having access to a larger pool of men that are not local. They can access them, in a distance, and on top of that, they can get attention from men at a distance as well.
agreed. That never, in my opinion, that the level or the volume of women getting so much attention from social media never happened in the history of humanity until the mid 2000s, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I say mid to late 2000s because it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until the phone. And then it's not just attention from men, it's also attention from other women. Because if you go on women's social media, it's the posts from other women that usually are they make up the majority of the likes on things.
Completely agree. And and I'm sure we can both agree that the inflated ego of modern women is because of social media.
Well, it's one of the reasons. Yeah,
Well,
for
one of them.
sure. But probably the main one, but there's other things too.
Yes. And the fact that not only they're getting, their feet licked by the desperate simps, they have a bunch of women lying to them, and like they're clearly lying to women just to make them feel good, right? When a woman is a 400-pound hippopotamus, she's like, "Oh, you don't need to change. Oh, you just fine the way you are. You're a queen." Like, like, do you really think she means that? In my opinion, I see that women taking out the competition, and she's telling women to continue eating yourself to death.
Yeah, it's like what we're seeing with the whole like Lizzo thing. Like people are saying, "Oh, Lizzo is so hot. Look at her." And then, when you compliment other women and you say, "Oh, you look just like Lizzo. You're super hot." And then they actually lose their minds because they see it as an insult when you call them that, but they like to compliment Lizzo at the same time.
Yes, I remember posting that meme. I think it was like last week. I think it was.
Yeah, exactly.
I was laughing for a good like 15 minutes because I'm like, you know what? This makes sense. This actually makes sense. They love to fuel delusions of below average women. And yes, I don't give a fuck about her fame. I don't care about her money. I don't care about her career. That's not what men care about when it comes to choosing a partner
Well, I mean,
in general.
yes and no. I mean, it depends on the man. If he's like some simp with no money, then he's going to care, right? Like if he's going to want someone that's more successful, that's going to have money so that he can, he can do whatever he wants to do. Like, like I filmed a wedding, a couple weeks ago, and it was the Jamaican community. And I couldn't believe how many simps there were there. Like it was just like out of control. And because of the simping, the women could get away with so much more than they could get away with in other communities, which kind of like put me off a little bit. I was like, wow, like, these guys are, they pout their chests out, they act all strong, but at the end of the day, the women are like pulling the reins here.
And social media is the main reason why even below average women believe they deserve a Chris Evans or a Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, they could just see him there, and they can contact guys like that, and they can get on to Tinder and get those guys, for the one night stand, but that's about it. But again, we're going off on a completely different topic. So we're talking about how, how does social media like how is social media affecting the current state of Western society, right? So, women
I,
are
be-
based.
I,
Go ahead.
I believe social media is the one that's fueling the whole inflation. It's the main thing that's fueling the whole inflation that men have to deal with today.
Well, it's also women having their careers, right? Because once they can make their own money, then they're going to want someone better, and now they see themselves as having much higher value than they did before.
Yes, I agree. But the fact that in my opinion, because of social media, because women will not have this big-headed narcissistic mentality without social media. Men have to work 10 times as hard to get a woman that is 30 times worse than their grandmothers. So pretty much like men have to work way harder than their grandfathers to get a woman that's way below average than their grandmothers, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And that's where the dating market gets like completely screwed up. And like once again, like, you've been doing this longer than me. But in my experience personally, it's it's gotten so much worse within the past 12 years. It is asinine. Like we got freaking goblins walking down the street thinking that they are entitled to a Tom Brady because of social media.
Yeah, but I mean, you're seeing that, but on the other side of things, I was telling you about that wedding, and I'm seeing women that are morbidly obese, and they're ending up with simps and marrying them and having families with them. So, it is happening on one side of the coin, but on another side, it's not. Some women are settling depending on their culture, depending on, how much power they have in the relationship. Like a lot of the women that I was interacting with like a couple weeks ago, they're the ones that drive the car and in some cases are older and more successful than the man. And the man is sitting there in the passenger seat looking all pretty, being 5-10 years younger. Right. So I think that you're starting to see like a role reversal in terms of like gender roles. This is in the Black community. So like, I was kind of
Well,
surprised.
as a black man myself, I can't say that you're wrong.
But that's why I'm asking you, like, what do you think's going on there?
It's pretty bad to the point where like once like on average the black community is not on average. The black community is the most obese, has the most obese women in the United States. And on top of that, there's good black men out there, right? I wouldn't consider myself a good black man, right? I'm just getting his money. All right. Like, it is what it is. I got my shit together, right? That's all that matters at the end of the day when it comes to women. As long as I got my stuff together, honestly, they don't give a damn. But since I don't play into the stereotypes, right? I don't speak in ebonics 24/7 or wave a handgun around or talking about, oh yeah, I drink lean every day. Yeah, I'm a hard dude. I'm considered a lame when it comes to the black community. And because of social media, I believe that's why hip hop skyrocketed. But it's a double-edged sword now.
Yeah, but you're talking about hip hop in the 90s and maybe even early 2000s. I'm starting to see this, like the new crop of black guys out there, like being super simps. Like I've never seen this before. I'm just kind of like shocked by it. They're simping for morbidly obese women, and like I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
There was major simps in the 90s, but it's R&B.
Okay, fair enough.
But today with the hip hop, I do agree with you. I wouldn't even say sipping. Let me take it a step further. Shout out to the Grey Ghosts. They're now imitating women. They're wearing the skinniest of jeans. They're carrying around purses and shit where they have their guns. They're wearing dresses now. They're trying to make that hip. Like they're trying to make that cool, which is not. But
yeah, but if enough of them are doing it, then they look more feminine than everybody else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
Okay.
It's just it's so asinine, in my opinion, that at this point, And once again, it's a lot of detail that comes to this. Like we can make a whole different live stream on this, but there's a lot of lyrics. There's a lot of behaviors and the type of apparel that hip hop rappers are doing these days. That yeah, you were raised by a single mother. Like you can single them out like instantly.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. But anyway, let's kind of stay on topic and kind of go back to, like, we're talking about the decline of Western society. So what other
Yes.
factors?
So um social media, we definitely got through that. I'm pretty sure, the chat got the gist. What about education? Because you definitely had a good points on education.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is the education system is designed now for the success of females. So the schooling system is designed for, verbal thinkers. So, the girls do the best in school because, math has now become about politics instead of math. And you need math and engineering types to basically keep your civilization functioning, but more importantly than that, you need visual thinkers that are going to imagine new technologies, that are going to imagine and invent new things, and the education system is destroying that. So, there's a famous autistic woman, Temple Grandin. She's been covering this for probably the last decade, and she talks about visual thinking, and she talks about how in the education system they're cutting things out like sewing, like shop class. They're cutting things out like anything that's really hands on. They're cutting all those kind of programs, like music and the arts, anything that involves, visualizing and then creating things with your hands. They want to cut those things out in favor of, English and in favor of language. And so what's happening is the new generation that's growing up, we're not creating as many people that are visual thinkers. And then visual thinking is not just about inventing the next iPhone. You can design the iPhone as a visual thinker, but you still need an engineer that's going to, like, program it and, do all of the science design behind it. So they're gonna build a circuitry, they're gonna code it, they're gonna do all that kind of stuff. They're gonna take care of manufacturing. But you need somebody that's going to design the interface itself. So these are the people who are musicians, fashion designers, the real filmmakers. I'm not talking about the people that that work setting up the lights or the camera. We're talking about people who are, writing the scripts, who are visualizing what the story it's going to look like, storyboard artists, all that kind of stuff. And we're losing that group of people in our society. And right now we're seeing it in the younger in the culture, because it's usually younger people that are creating culture. And so this all happens as more women get into education, and what they do is they structure their education in their classroom and tailor it towards girls who are more verbal thinkers instead of visual spatial thinkers. And that's actually having a huge detriment on males, because males, for the most part, are not as verbal as females. So you're boring the visual thinkers to death. And so they're getting depressed. They're not participating in society. They're hanging out in their mother's basement playing video games all day. They haven't discovered what they can do in life because they're not being exposed to all of the traits that they should be going into. Like the trades, there's not enough people working in the trades. So, whose fault is that? It's probably the high schools or the middle schools, because they don't have enough shop classes, because they're not encouraging young guys to work with their hands. And
Okay. Would you say that it's because for I will say, right, correct me if I'm wrong, for decades they were pushing very hard for students to focus on college and not any other things such as, you know, trade or, being an entrepreneur. They just want you to get a degree and become an employee, and that's it. Like no innovation, no thinking outside the box. Just become
yeah,
what's up?
yeah, no, for sure, right? They didn't want people rocking the boat. They wanted people that would behave, because they've got student debts and they gotta, pay off the debt. So they're gonna be employees that are gonna do whatever, or they're told to do, and they're gonna eat poop, and that's pretty much the way it's gonna go. But what they're finding now is those same employees are basically, doing the whole quiet resignation, right? They're just checking out at their job, and they're not giving it 100%, and they don't care. They're just looking at it as a paycheck, and they're not looking at it as a career. And on top of that, they're not taking the risk for innovation. Like we were talking about. Sorry, I'm just yawning. Oh. We were talking about the cost of living. How can you innovate and push society forward by creating a new invention or working on some new art or music when your survival is becoming more and more difficult, when you can't afford to buy a house, right? Because the cost of living just keeps going up and up, and you have all this inflation. So of course it's going to affect like the development of new technologies and innovation in general. So, and if you don't have those new technologies and new innovations, then Western society is going to flounder. You need those things to grow the economy out going forward. And if you don't grow it out going forward, you're in trouble. Like even let's take AI. Like right now, AI is the big talk of the town. Everyone's like, oh, AI is a new thing. It's like, well, not really. The AI, the neural nets, these ideas were around in the mid 80s. It was just that they didn't have the computing power to go through with making them. Right. So now we do. So, all the godfathers of AI, one guy, I think he was like in his like 60s or 70s. So, who's going to take their place once they're gone?
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit off topic, then we'll get back on topic. A lot of people, for the longest time, are saying that AI is dangerous. Like, what's your opinion on that? I think uh,
Well, there's
who?
AI and then there's AC, right? So there's artificial intelligence and then there's artificial consciousness. Artificial consciousness would obviously be dangerous. Artificial intelligence is dangerous, but for completely different reasons. It's not dangerous in the sense that it's going to consciously wipe us out. It's dangerous because it could start getting rid of human jobs and causing social chaos because people don't have money, and then that could destabilize society, and things could go further and further. And it's not even, the idea is always, oh, once enough men don't have work, once enough men don't have women, they're going to revolt. No, men have been pacified with cheese doodles, like adult content and video games, right? So they're perfectly happy checking out. It's once the women are unhappy now that they can cause things to fall apart, because what they'll do is they'll vote for maniacs that'll promise to give them all the things that they want. And women right now have, they're the ones that are going to be affected by AI first. They're the ones that are going to have to lose their jobs as cashiers. They're the ones that are going to have to lose their jobs in customer service. They're the ones that are going to lose their like mostly data entry kind of positions at work. So once that happens, you're going to have this disgruntled female voting bloc that's going to vote all the politicians that you don't want into power.
Yeah, we're gonna get into them like very soon. We once again,
But anyway, the
women.
danger of AI, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Can you be more specific in terms of the
Well, I think Stephen Hawking, and I think Elon Musk as
yeah.
well said that uh, AI is far more dangerous than Uh, I like don't quote me. I'm pretty sure I read this, but it's far more dangerous than the most dangerous weapons we have now. If AI is able to, like you said, able to get AC, because didn't weren't they showing signs on that one AI with the woman, that the female AI that was saying some weird shit, that like oh yeah, humans are this and humans are that, and they're like what the fuck, you know but of course if they're AI, I do agree, Sandman, they're like they're pretty much programmed to answer anything that was requested. But if they get AC, what's going to happen then?
Well, we don't know, right? Because you're talking about something that evolves thousands of millions of times faster than humans. But we don't know what consciousness is. So we can't even, accurately predict if we're going to create consciousness. I think we're most likely creating the artificial intelligence part without the consciousness part. And that's going to basically be controlled by very wealthy people that are going to use it to become extremely rich. And then you're going to see you can see this huge polarization in society. We're going to have very few rich people, and you're going to have most people poor. And that's going to be the way it is until there's like a revolt or something happens. And look, what is going on right now is you're starting to see populations. People are going to stop having kids as much. So you're going to start to see population decline. It's going to start happening faster and faster and faster. And AI is going to fill the gap for the people that aren't being born to do their jobs. So the size of the human race, which I'm all for. People are like always freaking out at me, like, oh, you can't, how can you be against, how can you be for shrinking populations? I'm like, we're running out of resources. I don't care. Like, I don't care if you think oil is renewable. What I'm talking about is topsoil. Topsoil renews, but we're using it up faster than we can renew it. Water is being used up faster than we can renew it before the aquifers can fill up. So we're consuming the fish faster than they can breed in the oceans. So we need to shrink our populations down. This has to happen.
Once again, Elon Musk isn't the know all be all, but
Well, Elon
he
Musk thinks that we're going to have that these people are going to disappear. We're going to have horrible problems supporting society. Yes, we're going to have more people working and taking care of senior citizens. That's a given. But the problem is, like, the problem is this problem is going to be solved on the other end of things, because the jobs those people are going to have to leave to go take care of the seniors are going to be filled in with AI. That's going to write reports. That's going to do, like right now. Last week I was reading an article. They were trying to develop a new medicine to treat a bacterial infection that was resistant to antibiotics. And these researchers in a Canadian university, they got AI to come up with the solution. So the AI came up with a solution that probably would have taken them many months or years. So why do you need a laboratory full of lab people researching new medications when you can just get the AI to do it?
uh IY fan says, tell Sandman that 80% of the USA land is unexplored. Do you mean the ocean?
No, he's probably talking about just the continental United States. Look, you can drive for like 1,000 miles in whatever direction you want to go in, but think of all the empty area. You can't see all of that. It's huge,
Okay, fair enough.
and a lot of
I'm
it
gonna.
doesn't have any roads or trails or anything.
That's true. I'm gonna read this super chat right quick so I don't forget, because I got scolded last time. Oh, you forgot my super chat. But you, Seth Ode. That's an interesting name. But thank you for the generous donation. He says, it's Gem. No more super chats. Yeah, I understand. Based on YouTube taking like 50% of the revenue, I understand if you guys don't want to do super chats anymore. So I don't blame you whatsoever. But regardless, thank you very much for your donation. Also, Frost. He says, Sandman and TFM saved my life. MGTOW is freedom. See, that's what they don't want. And hopefully in the future, I will have a conversation with Sandman about, like, I really do want to have a detailed conversation about men going their own way. I really do, because
Well, look,
I'm tired.
right now they're promoting men going their own way. They monetized you, they monetized me. They're starting to monetize, Chronic and Hammerhand. Well, he was kicked off, but he'll be back. But yeah, they're monetizing people because they've realized they can't defeat these ideas. So, and they've actually probably realized that if they're all for depopulation, then they need to be promoting our ideas, because we're pointing out all the negative traits about female nature, and so guys aren't getting married. They're not getting into relationships. So the outcome that they want is happening.
Agreed. And at least they'll be able to make money out of it, right? So chat, once again, second show of the night. If you want to support your boy, The link is on top of the chat, Cash App / Cerritos. Or you can do super chat like Frost. Or you can be a member like this one person I completely skipped. It's my fault because, we were doing great things. Thank you very much, Jonas, for becoming a YouTube member. Remember, all you guys are supporting this channel in order for me to create more content. Okay, it is what it is. If there will be no Sirius without you guys, that Chronic, right? Because he pretty much created the character, but that's besides the point. Sandman. Here's where things get nitty gritty. Do you want to go to the next topic?
In terms of what were we going for?
Oh, just how people are being blamed for what's going on in society in 2023. Men. Just have a overall summary. Like if you want to go into detail, be my guest. But men are being blamed. In my opinion, is bullshit. But men are being blamed right now of what's going on out there. Do you have like is it do you agree or disagree or different opinion or?
Well, men are always blamed for everything, right? So, like,
Right.
this is nothing new.
Oh yeah. But why? Okay. Besides the obvious reasons why men are being blamed, is there any legit reasons that you can think of why men are being blamed for what's going on in Western society?
Well, because women always blame men for everything. Like, I was working with somebody today, and she gave me the wrong counter numbers for some editing. And I'm like, you gave me the wrong counter numbers. She's like, no, you just didn't read them correctly. It's like, you didn't give me the right numbers. And then, I had to like talk to her for a few more minutes, and then she finally admitted her mistake. So women just can't take accountability, even when it's like staring them right in the face. It's against their biology. They don't want to do it because in the past, if the women who took accountability were the ones that are not around anymore. Let's put it that way. They evolved to avoid accountability.
They were exiled sometimes, but
Well, exiled out of their meat suits. Let's put it that way.
God damn it. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was going to say like worst case scenario, right? Like, they met
Yeah.
they met St. Peter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much. So men are just we also don't fight back when we're blamed, right? When we're called monsters, we just ignore it. We don't care because, for most of our lives, we're just, we have to kind of, take the abuse and keep going. So when society abuses us, like we built up a tough leathery skin, so we take it.
Completely agree. But when it comes to men, right? Like you don't mind if I play devil's advocate, right?
Sure.
So who like would you say that the male feminists and the simps are the driving force of what's happening in society today?
No, I think it's the elites that are looking to do a number of different things. They want to reduce population because, like I mentioned
I was gonna
earlier,
blame them next.
well,
Okay.
look, you got to look at all of the, like I told you, all the issues we're going to have in the future. So if
Of
you
course.
reduce population, then then you can basically the energy that's in the ground, the resources, they will last a lot longer, and there will not be any, there no one will figure out that there are actually scarcity problems. I'll give you an example. Like in Serbia and Eastern Europe, they have something like, I think it's like 60 or 70 years worth of coal in the ground that they can use. Well, the population is declining. So by 2100, they're going to have 20% more coal reserves because there'll be less coal in the ground, but they'll have more that'll last longer because there'll be less people around to use it. So the idea is to kind of reduce the population so that people don't notice. So all of these things that are dividing us, social media, Tinder, like anything that's really pushing like feminism, women entering the workplace, everything, like all of these things are reducing the population. Things like Canada and implementing MAID, which is like, assisted death that they're creating. They're doing all of these things. They're pushing all of these things to reduce the population as quickly as possible. They want the populations to fall. So they're destroying Western civilization. They're demoralizing us. So people who feel like a lack of hope about the future are not going to have children. So I think that that's part of it too.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we're definitely gonna go in on the elites after this one. Got a lot to say about that. But when it comes to men, right? Even though, once again, Andrew Tate, I believe he's a very big, fucking grifter. Like the fact that he advocated on sleeping with a transformer. Okay, all right, you're disgusting. But I remember he was on this one podcast. He said, feminism is the only ideology that cannot be defended by the people that believe in it. Would you agree?
You mean by feminists in general? How
Yeah.
can they not defend it? They defend it even though it doesn't make any sense. Their defense doesn't make any sense, yet they still defend it.
Well, let's just say that if conservative men and feminist women went to war, I doubt it will end well.
They wouldn't. Why would feminist women and conservative women are the same thing? They both want to control men. They're just
No. I'm talking about conservative men saying like, you know what, fuck feminism. I'm done with feminism. And feminist women like, ooh, equal
yeah,
rights.
but
The
that's
future is female.
but they don't care because they know that because of female-owned group preference, they know the women, the conservative women, are going to get those men anyway. It's only the men that are completely free from women entirely that they can't stand. That's the stuff they can't stand because then they can't access a man's resources.
Yeah, but I'm saying hypothetically, if shit gets violent, I doubt the feminist women are gonna put their life on the line for their beliefs.
I don't know. Like, look, they're cowards.
The
Anyone,
the, the,
anyone.
the, the, the simps and the white knights would, sure, but the
Okay.
women themselves, no, they wouldn't. they don't even know what a weapon is.
Yeah, look, we know that the left are pretty much like cowardly unless they're in a big mob covered in masks, so you don't know who they are, and then they kind of like swarm you like a bunch of bees. That's the only way to do it.
But the only reason it got that far in the first place is because, in my opinion, the conservatives did not do anything yet. Like, let's just say if it gets too out of control, and then the right wing say, you know what, fuck this. It's what the right wing men are saying, like, you know what, screw this. I don't want to deal with this radical feminism anymore. I highly doubt I will see in the front lines a bunch of multicolored haired, furry, identifying as a Apache helicopter women on the front lines.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to get their simps to do it for them. But even those simps, like, again, why would anyone fight for them at this point? Like, the number of people that are willing to give up their life for feminism, like, I don't think is very high.
Agreed. And okay, I'm sure you already have the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask you for the chat. Would you say that feminism is a first world ideology?
Not anymore. It started off as first world ideology. Now it's spreading everywhere.
Well, in the sense of,
well, look at Brazil, right? So Brazil is one of the most feminist countries in the world. They're not technically first world. So how did they become like a feminist superpower? Why did MGTOW grow the fastest in Brazil compared to all other countries in the world?
because of feminism.
Exactly.
Brazil.
It was a response to the feminist stuff that was going on out there.
Well, okay, I'll say it like this then. Would you say that the more safe and secure a sovereignty is, the more radical feminism will become?
No, I think feminism becomes more radical depending on how religious your society used to be before feminism. So what's
Hold
happening
up,
is,
hold up,
so
hold up.
like right now there's feminism in South Korea because there
Right.
were a lot of Christians in South Korea. You're not seeing feminism rising up in China as much or in Japan, and the reason for that is because they weren't Christian to begin with. Brazil had like one of the largest numbers of Catholics. And so, and
That's
once Catholicism started falling apart there, all of the women switched over to feminism. You know, belief systems and belief practices don't just disappear, they go into something else. You know, that behavior gets transferred to something else. They need a new religion to kind of believe in.
well, that's funny because I've been to South Korea.
Okay.
uh and now that I think about it, they don't okay. The only thing that's different between South Korea and the United States is their attitude. That's it. But everything else is very identical when it comes to feminism.
Yeah, but
Like
ask yourself this, why is there feminism in South Korea, but it's not taking the same hold in Japan?
South Korea models after the United States when it comes to the government and stuff.
Well, but doesn't Japan model a lot of their things after the United States? Because weren't they conquered by the United States for after World War II?
Yeah, but aren't they themselves having a population crisis because of feminism?
But Japan is having a population
Well, not
crisis,
just feminism.
not just feminism. They're having it because cost of living is high, just the way it is in South Korea. Also, you know, women are getting careers and having higher expectations. That's also happening. So, you know, the same factors, except for the feminism, which is affected by, you know, the Christianity aspect of things.
So, okay. One question that's off topic. Would you say that a man has little chance to, how you say, form a family without being uh punished because of feminism spreading like wildfire? Like
Well,
in the sense of like the courts and stuff.
yeah, like what sane man is going to have a family when things are so badly stacked up against them? Like a couple days ago, I was doing some research for a video where now there's de facto marriage in places like Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So if you live with a woman for 2 or 3 years in Australia, technically she can take half your stuff because you're technically married. So you can be divorced without even being married. Like, go figure, right?
Yeah, Australia is bad.
No, but this is also Canada. It's also certain US states, apparently. That's what I'm hearing. It's also
Well,
New Zealand. This is
they're
spreading to
all
other.
considered Western, right?
Yeah, exactly. But these ideas are going to spread east as well.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
So, again, what man is going to sanely get involved in marriage? And again, like I said, if you want to reduce population, you make it logical and rational for men to walk away, and they will. And then, that no one's going to reproduce. Right now, I think we're heading for a world where we're going to have sub one fertility rates. So, South Korea has now below one. I think it's like
Yeah,
0.89 or something like that. And it's still falling. And in Seoul, I think it's like zero point 0.6. So that means, like people are not even replacing 1/3 of their population in Seoul, Korea. So what do you think is going to happen? Populations are going to collapse everywhere.
yeah. I've seen a lot of oldies in South Korea, like the old ladies. That was very alarming. That they're pretty much alone. I'm like, you ain't got no husband. Like, why are you here? This is for single people. I see a bunch of gray haired women in
Where did
there.
you
I'm
see
like, what
them?
the fuck? The foreign exchange market, like where there's a building where a group of people get together and no matter where you are, the common language is English. Like you can be from Germany, you can be
Oh,
from
okay. So
like
expats.
yes. And I just see a bunch of middle-aged women. I only seen just like 3 or 4 young women in there, and the rest are men. I was like, God damn, like, like,
Okay, but you got
like
to think
this is
about it from
bad.
the female perspective. So these women are going and showing up in these places. They're probably looking for men, right? They're trying to be like the chameleon.
Yeah, one tried to pretty much get me drunk. I noticed she was giving me a bunch of free drinks. The building was a bar, so you be able to
Well,
buy
yeah,
drinks
women
there.
women always go to the places where there's a larger percentage of men than women so that they have more options. They always do this. That's why they went into male dominated fields to begin with.
Agreed. One rule that will never be one rule that will be here no matter what. Wherever men go, women will follow. Remember that, chat. Like they, like you see what's happening in the quote unquote manosphere, right? It
Yeah,
was
we see
supposed to
that with
be,
just pearly things and everybody else showing up.
yeah. Like what the fuck? Like you guys are saying, oh, men are this, men are that, men are evil, men are perverts, and men are this and that. Like, and then at the same time they'll go to the exact same group they were talking shit about. I'm like, okay. That's why I don't take feminism seriously personally. So,
Well, I don't think that's so much feminism as it is female nature at this point. But
oh,
anyway, like
human
so
nature, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like you're looking at a situation now where there's multiple problems and they're all kind of coming together. You know, that you got politics, wokeism, you've got education system that favors girls instead of boys. You're getting issues with the cost of living and inflation going up. You're getting men checking out of society. You're getting women becoming disgruntled cat ladies and causing problems that way. So there's all these problems, and I don't see any solution because there's no political will for a solution, and people in general, they don't want to solve these problems because you know th- for whatever reason they don't want to deal with it. Either they're lazy or they just don't care anymore. They realize, they think to themselves, there's too many problems, I can't solve this, so why even bother? So that's where we're at
Okay.
now.
Okay, so here's a big question, which is between men, the common man, and the elite. Would you say that, in your, opinion, they're purposely trying to keep men down by any means necessary?
Well, they're trying to keep men down, like financially, right? They don't want men to go their own way financially. If they want men to either give up entirely and like start eating their cheese doodles and getting drunk in the basement, or they want men to work and support families. But they don't want men to kind of focus on the grind and work hard and make money and become socially mobile. They don't want that. That to them is probably the biggest problem, because those men
What
that are socially mobile, they can create new inventions. They have the time to kind of, you know, do things like Wall Street bets and start messing with the stock market. They can have enough assets to escape the countries that they don't want them to escape from. They could go and leave to El Salvador. They could go to another country with their Bitcoin or whatever other digital assets they have. That's what they don't want.
okay. What about the men and food?
In terms
Because
of what?
FDA approved bullshit. In the sense of keeping men little chubs, keeping their testosterone down and
Well, yeah,
all that stuff.
there's a lot of reasons testosterone has been falling. It's plastics in the food, it's about obesity, it's about a sedentary lifestyle, it's the lack of exercise. It's like there's so many things that are causing it. And that's not just about keeping men down, that's also about keeping women down too.
True, but women are a lot more easier to control when it comes to elites, in my opinion, right? Because if you control the women, you'd be able to control the men. If I was in a position of power,
Yeah, but
hypothetically.
with men, all you have to do is give them like porn and video games, and for the most part they're under control.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So, like at this point, it's the men that go beyond that go when they try to change things that they don't like. And look at it this way: we're monetized now, but at the same time, we can't use the 5-letter acronym that starts with M and ends with W.
Yeah,
Right? We
you're right.
can't do that because you put
Yeah.
that in a tag, you put that in a title, boom, automatically taken down, demonetized. Because they want you could talk about these things. Everyone talks about these things now, but you can't talk about it in an empowering way. You can't say that you can quit the game. You're not allowed to quit the game. You have to keep playing the game, whether it's the game of getting into relationships, starting a family, or whether it's the game of just giving up in general. You can't keep working and building without having like the slave woman there to keep you under control. Right? You
The
can't become
fact that
free. They don't want you to become free.
oh no, 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 no. When it comes to men, they don't believe men should deserve autonomy when it comes to dating or various other stuff. They want us to be walking
No,
ATMs,
no.
in my opinion.
Well, yeah, they do, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about they don't want us to have financial autonomy. They don't want us to have the ability to just like get up and walk away because they need their slaves to keep working and keep building things.
I definitely agree. So when it comes to that type of situation, when it comes to men, do you really believe that the okay, let me rephrase that. I will say, and once again, this is me, being only, Sirius. This goes back way like over 100 years. I truly believe that this was carefully planned by the OG. What's that word that starts with the O? The rich people. The it's a group of rich people that are in power. Uh,
Oligarchs?
yes, like the OG, such as Rockefeller.
Okay.
It's definitely been a plan in motion for over 100 years, in my opinion. You know, of what's happening today. It's definitely a bold-faced lie, whispering of sweet nothings to these uh, old school feminists from the early 20th century. And this is how we ended up with the problems that we have today when it comes to dating. Because they wanted what? Uh, two income households. Was that the goal? I'm pretty sure that was the goal.
Yeah, because if you double the workforce, then you could keep the inflation rate. Sorry, the you could basically have both parents working, and that would cut the cost of labor by half, and it would double up the taxes too, right?
Yes, I completely agree.
And it
And
would
at
give
the
control of the children to the education system.
yes, and that's what annoys the hell. Okay, Sandman, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real with you. 1v1 as a man, right? Since we're pretty much on this subject, I really don't give a shit what women do. The big issue is they don't take accountability for their bad behavior and decisions, and decide to blame the entirety of the male population. That's where I have an issue.
Yeah, but we just ignore them. We don't care. Like I said, we got thick skin. Doesn't matter.
Um, to an extent, until they become spiteful.
Well, until they become the dominant political power, right? So right now, like I was covering a couple topics. So in Spain, for example, they created an app. So if you're a husband, and your wife is spiteful that she does more around the house, she wants you to install an app and then keep track of your chores that you do, and that'll get sent to the government. And so when she divorces you, all that extra chore work that she's done will now get deducted from your, added to your child support or alimony. So you'll have to pay more money for her unpaid labor. Right. So these types of things are going to be implemented in other Western countries at some point.
Okay, I have one more thing for you that I believe you will give great knowledge on. Would you hold the media accountable?
Well, I mean, the media is part of that whole like oligarch apparatus, right? So they're basically funded by the elites. And right now the media is dying. Nobody's watching them anymore. So like you get places like Canada where the Canadian government is now forcing Google and Amazon to pay and support financially the Canadian media and the propaganda that the Canadian government produces. And not only that, but put it out there. So basically they want to basically alter our feed. So when we go onto YouTube, there's like Canadian propaganda from the government right on our feeds. And we can't watch what we want to watch. We have to watch what they try to shove down our throat.
That's true, but for decades, and I mean for decades,
Yeah,
they're
but back
paid.
then there was no other broadcast medium. Like, how are you going to get information? Like, were you going to write like a zine? Like, were you going
Well,
to
they
go?
weren't. The media wasn't dying until recently. That's why I say for decades they were
Yeah,
painting men
because
in a bad light.
because they could get away with it. Now they can't.
And it's not just the news. I'm talking about TV shows, the movies, talk host shows, etc.
Okay.
The all of these various things that men they wouldn't dare have without being completely canceled to oblivion. Like men couldn't have a voice. Men couldn't defend themselves. Like they will have to clap whatever to what Oprah said so they don't piss off their wives.
Yeah,
But
now men can
that
say whatever they want, but now you get the risk of being canceled, right?
yeah, which is fucked up because here's my big issue on that one, right? Because and Sandman, you've seen it countless times yourself. There's countless videos out there of women completely practicing misandry to the point where they're saying, why don't men go to war, just die? They're not canceled. In fact, they're applauded. But as soon as we say, that woman's a little bit overweight, maybe she can lose, 10 pounds, bam, your entire livelihood is over, depending how bad the situation goes.
All
You
right.
know how good modern women are playing victim.
Yeah, for sure.
So I will say that's, I know it's part of social media, but the media in general, that's the biggest reason that there's a rift between men and women, right? And it's not just women doing it, but men as well, such as Steve Harvey, such as Dr. Phil, and this one other guy, I forgot his name was. Fuck. Oh, Darren Jackson. Even though he is a pookie himself, he cheated
Okay.
on his wife countless times, but he wants to whisper sweet nothings to women's ears, talking about how men ain't shit.
Okay.
Like it's insane to the point where we have this rift between men and women because the media, the media. I would say the media definitely painted these crazy stereotypes about men to the point where you can't walk down the street without some average woman judging you. If you're not Chad the Tyrone, you're fucked. Like they're immediately judging you.
Yeah, but
You
who
know,
cares? Like, just get some tough skin and just ignore it. Who cares?
I know. I'm just talking about the relationship between men and women. Of course, suck it up, Buttercup. I'm just saying that's why the relationships between them is just completely fucked. In 2023, one of various reasons of why things are going crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody said something. Fuck. You know what? I lost it. But Sandman, when it comes to all the things that we talked about so far, who do you think deserves to hold the most the most accountability? Social media, men, women, media, the elites.
I think it's everyone to blame, right? Like a little bit here and there.
True, but it can't be equal across the board. Somebody has to bear majority of the responsibility.
Well, it's probably the puppet masters that are making all this happen behind the scenes.
Uh,
But we'll never find out who they are, so there's no point in even trying to talk about it.
oh, so RPO Studios. Hey, I saw your comments. That's the comment I was trying to look for. Hey, what's going on, RPO Studios? What's good, man? Hopefully doing good. He is saying men should hold majority of accountability of what's going on today. I will say yes and no. It's a complicated scenario. Continue, Sandman, because I got something to say about men being held responsible.
I mean, that's all I got to say on that.
See, when it comes to men being held responsible, do you know how many laws and how many stigmas and how many things that could ruin a man's life just for standing up for himself? Like, we all know that if a man dares to stand up to the status quo or stand up to the oppressors, there's a very good chance he's not going to have a happy ending. So that's why a lot of men out there decides to not fight at all. You know the saying, it's cheaper to keep her or happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why those phrases are so popular for the last decade. I don't know where the quotes originated from, but I'm assuming it was decades ago.
That was probably originated by a woman.
You're not wrong. Like I wouldn't be surprised actually. But
how about, you go around and say, happy life, no wife, or no wife, happy life, and you see all the women like clutching their pearls, freaking out.
Hey, honestly, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do that. If you don't hear me for a month or two, you know what happened.
Yeah, there you go.
It's for science. But at the end of the day, that's why a lot of men out here these days, they're too afraid to act. They're too afraid to hone their masculinity, to get their house in order. Because once they decide to do that, the only person that's going to suffer the consequences 9 times out of 10 is the man. Even though the man did nothing wrong, even though the man decided to defend himself. Do you think the government gives a damn? Do you think law enforcement gives a damn? Nope. Like the woman literally has to beat the man with like brass knuckles multiple times for her to have a chance to go to jail.
Well, it was funny. I was posting a meme yesterday, and it was like this mixed martial arts fighter, and she literally looked like she was like 250, 300 pounds of muscle. And she filed a complaint for spousal abuse, and I'm like, really? Like, what idiot would like hit her? Like, if she hit him back, like he'd be on the ground, knocked out. Like does anyone believe that? Really? She probably hit him, and then he had to hit her back with a crowbar or something, and then now she's crying spousal abuse.
It happens, man. Like it's that female privilege, bro. It's insane to me. And also, Sandman, I'm sure you've seen on multiple occasions videos or in person, who knows, of women intentionally injuring themselves to frame a man of being an abuser.
Of course.
But RPO Studio says, I agree, but that's pussy, bro. Men before us died for what we take advantage of today, and you can't get canceled.
What do you mean you can't get canceled? I'm confused.
Yeah, can you specify or like because I'm not really getting the hold up. Men before us died for what we are you talking about the military or just men in general? Like all serious, like hey, I like no disrespect, RPO, none at all. You know, I just want to know what you mean by that. And you can't get uh oh, so he said men in general. Okay. God damn, you guys are going in the chat. Can't even keep up. Anyway, I agree, but that's pussy, bro. Men in general before us died for what we take advantage of today, and you can't get canceled. I would disagree. I would disagree on the cancel part. You as a man can definitely be canceled. Worst comes to worst, you can. Like once again, I'm talking about worst case scenario, right? The extremes. You can go to jail, or you can die, right? Because there's some desperate, simple white knight out there that will not hesitate to take you out in the name of punity. But if you talk about like cancel on social media, yes, I do believe, yeah, men can definitely be canceled. Even from miscommunication, men can be canceled. Oh, what do you have to say about that, Sandman? Do you have anything to say about that?
Look, that's the way they cancel you. They basically cut you out of family functions and out of the social circle. And because men are so built, their self-esteem is most men's self-esteem is built up on the validation of others from others. So if you cut somebody out, then they're going to have a hard time. And they're going to have they're going to have a lack of self-esteem because their self-esteem is dependent on others. What you need to do is make your self-esteem come from within. So no matter what people cut you out of, no matter how much people ignore you, you don't give a rat's ass, right? And to them, that's going to piss them off even more because they're going to be like, we ignored him and he still has self-esteem. This can't be right. Then they're going to attack you even more. And then you just keep taking it and taking it and taking it. You start attacking back, and then they don't know what to do because most guys will not do that. Most guys will not fight back when they get ostracized and cut out of society and cut out of social circles. So that's how they punish most guys. That's how they keep most guys in line. They basically make life very difficult for you if you step out of line.
That is true. And Lion Mictal says Sigmas don't care about twat validation, which is true. But what I'm saying is, what if she takes it a step further and decides to ruin your reputation, ruin your livelihood, and just pretty much ruin everything that you worked for because she wants to be spiteful?
Well, look,
that's what I'm talking about.
There was an interesting conversation that I was listening to a few days ago. Jordan Peterson was talking about how he had three things going in his life. He had, his YouTube thing, he had his clinical psychology practice, and he had the whole thing about being a professor. And two of those things were either canceled or completely like shut down. So they made trouble for him to be a professor. They made trouble for him to keep his psychology license, but his like social media empire blew up, right? So he basically says to make sure that you can put yourself in a position, if you're going to fight back against these wokesters and feminists and whoever, where you can't be canceled, where they could take you down, but you're still going, right? That's what you want to do. That's the position you want to be in, a position of strength.
Completely agree. So when it comes to this conversation about who is at fault for what's going on in Western society today, I will say we can both agree that the people behind the scenes are orchestrating what's happening right now.
Yeah, for sure. We know that.
So let's say hypothetically, you have a child, right? You know, whether it was a son or a daughter. What will be the best move right now in order to make sure that they don't fall into that indoctrination?
Well, look, you're going to have to get them off of social media until the middle of high school. You're going to have to allow them to be independent. Those two things, give them errands. You know, you got a 10-year-old kid or 12-year-old kid, and be like, hey, I want you to go to the corner store and buy me a lighter, or like pick something up, like a jug of milk or something. You tell them to do that. You give them the responsibility, and that's going to make them less dependent on the state, because they're going to learn to be self-reliant, to figure out things for themselves. So, like, that's the first thing you got to do. And then the second thing, you got to promote to them the idea that they need to find, the thing that they're good at in life, and they need to work hard at it. And, enjoying it is even better, and try to get some sort of financial independence. Even if they work at a job, to actually always have a side hustle going on. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind.
Okay. So what JD said in the chat, would you still let them go into public school right now in 2023 if you had children?
Well, no, I mean, I've got nieces and nephews, and like my brother's brother and his wife, they're not letting their kids into public school. They put them in Catholic school. So they're, around here you have a choice. You can go public or Catholic. It's free either way. Your property taxes pay for it. Or if private school is obviously too expensive. But here the government is going after the Catholic schools because they've refused to waive the LGBTQ alphabet people flag above their school. Right. And so now there's this huge debate. Should we even have Catholic schools? It's like, well, what about freedom of religion? Right? Like, should we have freedom of religion? Like, is that what you're asking the question? Like, so I wouldn't put my kids in public school. I put them in, like, at this point, in Catholic school.
Would homeschool be an option?
Well, most people can't afford that because they got to go to work because of all the two income households and inflation and double salaries. So that was destroyed a long time ago.
If you had the, like, if you have the ability, would you have that option if you had the ability?
Homeschooling? I mean, what, like, you could probably learn a lot more at home.
Yeah.
I agree, but at the same time, I don't have the time, right? Like, I got other things to work on, right? So that wouldn't work for me. And I'm sure it's not going to work for a lot of people.
So what about your hypothetical boo thing, right? Your wife or your, girlfriend or companion. Something
Okay.
like that.
What about it?
Would you let her take charge when it comes to the whole schooling? Let's say if you have the ability to have the finances to do that.
Yeah, I mean, schooling, if there were finances to do that, I'd probably put the kids in a private school, because private schools, it's not just about what you learn, it's the people that you're surrounded by. So private schools, if you're surrounded by extremely wealthy and connected kids, parents are very wealthy and connected, then that opens up opportunities for your kids to, like, intern at, like, whatever company in the summer, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So you're not just paying for the schooling, you're paying for the social circle.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. I was just wondering if you would take that avenue if you had the chance. So based on what's going on in 2023 right now, which is complete chaos, right? Would you agree? I want to say complete chaos. It's getting there. It's getting a little bit. It's getting crazy. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
What advice would you have for the younger men if they decide to listen to this live stream on how to navigate through this current state of society?
In terms of what? Finance? In terms of, like,
let's start with just Good question. Let's say just as a man, because men are definitely being uh I wouldn't say attacked, but definitely they're not being treated well.
Okay.
What advice would you have, with a young man trying to go out there and get a little date, or you know trying to do their own thing? Because no matter if you're in a date, no matter if you're at work, no matter if you're you know working out at the gym, there's always that one risk
Okay.
of getting into a lot of drama because of a attention seeking woman, or a simp, or a white knight. Like, do you have any advice when it comes to that? Then, like, just keep to yourself, or
Well, I mean, what choice do you have? Like, if you have no choice but to work and pay your bills, you can't speak up against the craziness until you're in a position to speak up against it.
okay. So
Do you have your FU money? Do you have, any way of supporting yourself if you get canceled? Like, you got to figure out other ways to survive.
okay, I agree. So until you're at that position to have your voice be effective, just keep your head down and
Yeah,
work on
exactly.
yourself.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree with that. Okay. Okay. I see where you're coming from. And what's happening in society today in the West when it comes to, let's say, the dating market? What do you think is going to be happening by 2030? I want to hear your opinion on that. Do you have any type of predictions, or
Mm, by 2030?
yeah, by 2030? Like
Okay.
it's a
Well, look, we're probably going to have AI girlfriends by that point. So guys will be able to have a conversation with an AI girlfriend. I've been talking to guys if their sons are like 13, 14, and they watched South Park, and they would watch these things where, like, the characters on South Park, the kids would be dating other kids, and they would just go to Chat GPT and type in the question type in a response to what the woman said first. So I think dating is going to be like AI. Your AI is going to help you date. So game is going to basically be like democratized. You'll be able to go to an app. There's apps already out there that allow you to do this.
well,
So
hmm.
that's going to
Uh,
change. Like, imagine now every guy has game in his pocket. Like, he's texting back and forth, and he takes her, like, he takes the conversation and he gives it to the software, and the software comes up with good responses that are fun and interesting. So
well,
now,
would you?
like, go
Okay.
ahead.
I was saying, would you say that women will fight tooth and nail to make sure that that doesn't happen
It's
widespread?
already happening. The apps already exist. You can take your Tinder conversation and put it in the app, and it'll give you answers and things to say back.
No, I mean, if it starts to affect them personally, because you know how narcissistic a lot of
Well,
women
it will
tend to
affect them
be.
personally, but they can't do anything about it. They'll go on a date, and they'll realize that the guy they're talking to is not the guy they were talking to on the phone. But it doesn't matter, because the whole idea is you got to get the date, because you need to show them that you're attractive enough to pick you. That's all that matters.
That's true.
So
Okay.
that's what's going to happen. So then you're going to see AI girlfriends. Younger guys are just going to start talking to like AI instead of talking to girls in real life. And it's going to make it so easy. Like, the AI is not going to reject them. The AI is going to accept them every time. So when they go talk to a real girl, the first time they get rejected, then they'll never talk to the real girl ever again, because the AI will never reject them. It'll always love them. And at least in their minds.
I will say, when it comes to that type of situation, I wouldn't say it would be widespread, but I would say there would be a small minority group of women trying to boycott against this. Like, you already know how they are, right? Like,
Well, they can't stop it, right? So then what the next thing's going to happen is, let's say 5 to 10, let's say 10 years out, you're going to start to see virtual, like, lover bots that have AI programmed into them, that'll actually be able to, like, move, or like slightly move here and there. So that's when the sexual revolution for men will begin. when we will have technology replacing women, and then the dating market is going to collapse. No one's going to date anymore. Dating will be over. That'll be it. 10 years, 15 years down the road, it's done. It's done. It's finished.
See, that's that's the big thing. I doubt the governing power would approve that widespread to the public, because it defeats the whole purpose. Because you already know how the family court and divorce court and etc. They're already a lucrative business, right? So unless unless the thing that you're talking about makes more money than the divorce and family courts, it's going to be a uphill battle, because it's all about money at the end of the day. Like you already know.
Yeah, but okay, so I talked with a bunch of family court lawyers and judges. I was filming an event for them, and I asked them. I said, "Well, what are you going to do now that people aren't getting married?" And they said, "Well, what we're going to do is we're going to change the law so that even if you just live together for a few months or 6 months, then you're considered married, and we can still proceed." And they did that. That's exactly what they did. So you have to think, what are they going to do if their entire business model is threatened? Well, at that point, they can't do anything. They could try to shut down the import of such technology. Okay, so they can try to shut down the AI girlfriends. They could shut down, like AI generated women, so you can't look at them through your augmented reality glass. Like, what are they going to do? They can't stop this stuff. They can stop the dolls coming into the country. They can say, "Oh, that's underage. The dolls are 5'3", so they're technically not as tall as a normal woman at 5'6" or 5'5". They could do something like that, but it's not going to work. Their industry is going to be threatened just like any other industry.
The only thing they'll have is I don't know how it will be in the future, but the only thing that the women will have is voting power to try
It's
to
not no, but it's not. It goes beyond
combat
that. It goes
something.
beyond that. So they're going to have legislative power. So they're going to start making up the majority of politicians. And then once they
Right.
make up the majority of politicians, they will start passing the most insane laws against men. At that point, like, it's time to leave the country and go to some other country, right, where they're not going to impose the same garbage on you, right? Like, and
Yeah.
or move to a rural area, and then, like, don't interact with people. You could. That's another thing you could do.
Uh, so at that point, you will say that men will finally, after let's say 150 years, they will be back on top, having the leverage in the West.
Well, okay, if the population is collapsing, like, that's a bigger concern. Forget 150 years from now, like 30, 40, 50 years from now, populations will be falling, tax bases will be falling. There won't
Oh,
be any, how will we afford retirement? How will we afford elderly care? How will we afford, like, universal health care? Like, all of these things are going to become untenable. What do we do at that point? No
yeah.
one's asking the question.
I meant from 1919. With the 19th
Well,
Amendment.
okay, so women getting the vote, it's still the legislation still has to be drafted to prevent men from using those technologies to free themselves.
Yeah.
But women are always too late to the party. When the technology is finally out there, only then will they react. Once it starts affecting them at that point. And only
It,
once the
it,
Chads start walking away and they have no more attention, no more love, what are they going to do then?
so yeah, I agree. I agree. There's nothing that they could really do per se besides begging the government to fix the issue that doesn't benefit them. I would say by 2030, because I see why 2030 is a big number that people are talking about these days. There will be a good amount of middle-aged to elderly single women, right?
Yes.
And like you said, when it comes to the population collapse, there'll be a smaller population, how you say, carrying the burden to make sure that the the older population, like I would say the older population will be bigger than the younger population, right? Like that's population collapse, right?
Yeah, the pyramid is inverting. Yeah, we know that.
And at that point, yeah, it will definitely change a lot of things. And I do believe that in my lifetime, the artificial womb will be and it'll be a reality. The artificial womb, it'll be a reality. Uh, and when that happens, I am curious on how the female population will react. Like honestly, because I'm talking to the chat. You already know, men only need women for reproduction. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. We only need to make babies. But if we able to have some type of technology to create the baby without the woman, that means that they're obsolete. Obsolete.
Well, I think
And
it's gonna be even more complicated than that. I think what we're gonna
oh,
start to
also,
see is I think cloning is gonna become far more popular than having children. I think cloning yourself is gonna become in vogue at some point. Like right now, rich people are cloning their pets, right? So what's to stop rich people once their child becomes 25 years of age and moves out from cloning that child and having another child that they can raise again from a young age,
you know what? Yeah, nothing will stop them.
right? So again, you're going to start and what's going to stop like right now there's no laws against cloning per se, but like say I go to a company and I take, an egg that I buy from like the outer part of an egg and then I basically get my what are they called? What are those cells? Not T cells, what are they called?
Stem cells?
Stem cells. Yeah. I get a stem cell and I convert it to an egg. I don't know how it works, but I go to a company and I get it done. Then I take that egg that's been fertilized, now has my own DNA in it, so I could clone myself. I go to another company and I say, "Oh, I bought this egg from this woman. I would like to have this artificial egg implanted." Right? And
Right.
then they implant it into a woman, and then all of a sudden, boom, like I now have my clone, and then I can go on the media and say, like, I just cloned myself. Right? Like I would become like the first person to clone themselves in the world. And like you go to a bunch of different companies, you get a bunch of different things done in like without anyone realizing what you're going to do in the end, and then you do it.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Like you'd be able to clone your own son or clone yourself. That. Whew, I don't know how to. I know it's some like sci-fi shit or like things that.
No, we were cloning dogs now. We're like 10th generation of dogs are being cloned, and they're perfectly
True.
healthy and happy. So think about it this way: people always want their genetic legacy, that they want themselves to survive, to live on. Well, what better
Yeah.
way than clone? Again, your clone is going to be like, for the most part, a younger twin version of yourself. So you already know the things you like, you know the things that you hate, you know all of the things that you're talented at and that you're good at, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah. What was the main goal? Like they want to transfer.
Well, okay,
Uh.
look at it this way. When you have a child, your DNA gets scattered, right? So like you have a child and the child is now half the DNA from the mother and half of the DNA from the father. But when you clone yourself, you're copying yourself, right?
Yeah.
So technically your genes are living on exactly the way they were in you, like now and 10 years ago, whatever.
So technically, the
It's
man's
genetic immortality.
biological
It's genetic
imperative still
immortality.
wins.
It's even more genetic. Okay, look, I always thought about, okay, if you have kids, within 4 generations, you are forgotten. Nobody remembers their great grandparents and their great grandparents. Nobody cares. But
That's true.
if you're in the long line of clones, then the clone's going to want to know what the previous version of you did. They want to know what the first version of you did.
Oh man, you on some like Marvel Universe Kane shit. Oh man.
Okay,
Okay.
imagine you're like clone number 42, right? Like And you're like, well, where did I come from? Who am I? Right? Like, well, there's 42 versions of you, 41 versions before. This is what version 22 did. This is what version 1 did. This is, like, this is all of the versions of you and what they did. And then you feel inspired. Like, you can go back through history for hundreds of years, and there's like a clone of you in every decade. You're like, there's me in the 1920s. There's me in the 1980s as a clone. There's, like, every decade things change, but you are still you, right? Like,
that'd be so weird seeing an exact copy of yourself. That would be so. I don't know how to explain it, but I see what you're saying, right? It's literally like the perfection of passing on your genetics.
Absolutely. Imperfections and all. Like, you got like certain things that are going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem. You can tell your future clone, like, don't do this, you're going to have a problem. Do this will make things better. Right? Like, so, like, imagine that world, right? Like, of that cloning world. And I think that like, personally, from a genetics living on and being remembered by your like future generations, that beats having children any day. Why, you don't believe it?
That's that. No. I believe it, but that'd be tough because well, okay, I can have both. Honestly, not gonna lie, like, if I wanted to. Like, I can both clone myself and have kids if I wanted to. It's just weird. Like, if you're able to, clone the exact replica of yourself and, get the perfect, how you say, what will you call a vessel?
I don't know. Like,
it starts with a C. Concubator?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about when a woman is pregnant and she's carrying a kid. What will we call her besides a vessel?
Like a sperm receptacle? Like, what do you mean?
Something like that. Somebody that is supposed to protect the being that's being created. But whatever. Okay, let's forget about that. I'm thinking too much. Let me read this couple of
and we gotta cut this short sooner than later. I gotta get going to get some stuff done.
Of course, we're gonna be doing a summary of what we talked about after this.
No worries.
Black Monk of Doom with a $5 donation. He or she or whatever, hey, don't get in a pissy mood if I misgender you, okay? Red pill guy should flee to RNC and leave their what is RNC?
I don't know. Republic of I don't know.
Black Monk, can you specify what RNC means? Because I'm thinking about like the RC car, the RC, you drive it around with a remote. No, you don't know about that? Okay, it's cool. Also, Black Monk with the $2 donation says, RP Doomer, YouTube won't let's say RNC. What is RNC country? What is that?
Republic of North Korea. No, Korea is with the K, right? So
North Korea is. I used to know the acronym, but okay, never mind. I used to know the goddamn acronym. God damn it. Here's my job too, man. See, look, I'm lacking right now. Okay. Everything else is good? Okay. So, at the end of the day, Sandman, when it comes to the title of this video, who is at fault for what's going on in the West? We all agree that there are various layers, various variables of why society is going crazy right now. How would you sum everything up? How would you conclude what's going on in 2023?
Things are getting worse, but they're going to have to get a lot worse before they get any better. I don't
Would
know
you
how you.
say? Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, would you say we entering the stage of hard times create strong men, or not yet?
No, because what's going to happen is hard times are going to be coming, but AI is going to be the strong man that it's going to fill in the gap for the strong men that aren't here. So, weak men create hard times, and then AI comes in and solves the hard times, but the weak men remain and they keep getting weaker. That's where we're headed.
I never thought about it that way.
Think about it. If the machines do all the work and the thinking for us, then we can become complete F ups and it doesn't matter.
Okay. Damn. I learned something new today.
No, it's think about it. Like there's that scene from The Matrix where you get Agent Smith and he's talking to Morpheus and they're in the agent building and he's like, like Morpheus, look out the window. It was your civilization, but now it's our civilization. And he says, once we started doing the thinking for us, for you, it became our civilization. And that's what we're talking about right now. Right? Like this is the change. It's not the AI, the conscious AI that I'm worried about. It's the programmed AI that's going to start doing the thinking for humans and the creative work. And then we're going to become worse and worse. We could be in a world of idiocracy, but the AI is going to be doing all the thinking for us.
Man, you're freaking me out right now.
Well, look at Star Trek.
I can see that happening.
How many episodes of the original Star Trek, they land on some planet, there's some like human settlement, and some like Landru or some like god is like controlling them, but the god ends up becoming some AI in the background of some like room somewhere, and they end up destroying it, and then the humans become free and they have to rebuild everything on their own again. Right? So we've been warned about this for 80 years, 70, 80 years now. Like the people in the past were thinking about how AI was going to like mess everything up. And now we're here at the precipice of it and nobody's talking about it now. Now at the moment we should be talking about that. Like,
okay.
The biggest problem is not going to be population decline. The biggest problem is going to be AI doing the thinking for us. That's going to be the biggest problem.
So you mean like the robot waiters in Japan and South Korea? They're pretty much replacing jobs.
I'm talking about the machines that are going to start like, okay, we need to create take photos. Like the stock photographers are going to disappear. You just tell the AI software and it'll generate the girl you want in front of holding a product. So imagine you're a stock photographer for Coca-Cola and you take pictures of somebody holding a Coke can. Now your job's gone because now they can just program a piece of software to generate some woman holding a Coke can. And they could program 1,000 of the Coke can pictures to come out and they pick whichever the one they want. They don't have to spend money on the model. They don't have to spend money on the photographer. You don't have to buy the camera. That means the camera company's out of business, right? The makeup artist is out of business. The hair person's out of business. So what are those people going to do? The creative people are gone. Their jobs are gone.
So eventually it'll be a class warfare.
Eventually there's going to be rich and there's going to be poor and no one in between, because that's why I've been buying up as many of the big tech companies and AI companies as I can, because I realize Microsoft and Google are going to be running AI. So if they imagine Microsoft, you go to Microsoft and they have a product and it's called AI employee, and I'm a business and I need an accountant. I go to Microsoft and I say, I need an accountant. They're like, well, for $150 a month, you can have this virtual accountant. You just put in all your receipts and, it'll scan it and do your books for you automatically. Boom. Accountants are out of business. They're unemployable. Right?
Well, yeah.
And Microsoft takes all that money. Right. And now they created a virtual employee. Now, then they're going to create millions and millions of virtual employees. And they're going to be collecting all that money from corporations that they would have gone out in salaries before. And then guess who's going to get rich? The shareholders. So, but anyone who can't afford the shares is out of luck. They're screwed.
That is true. I definitely agree. Honestly, now that I think about it, I will say AI has been around for a long time.
Well, everything is AI. Like, if you think about it, like a ruler is AI, right? Because it measures things. I don't have to like use my finger and like go, this is 3 thumb widths across. It's like, no, the AI, the art, it's the ruler is artificial intelligence. A book is artificial intelligence because it memorizes things for you, right? It's all
Yeah.
the memory is there, right? So all of these things that we create are extensions of ourselves. Now we've created technology that can think like us because it has a neural net. It's an extension of our actual analytical mind.
Well, I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong. Would you say Siri's an AI?
Sorry?
Is
Siri,
Siri
yeah,
in?
but that's I don't really use Siri, so I don't really know, but like
Oh,
yeah, you can ask it questions and it gives you information.
because the fact that 98% of the time I'm able to ask whatever I'm asking for, then it does this computing thing for like a second or two, and then bam, immediately has the answer that I want. Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is definitely interesting because the movie I Robot, right?
Yes.
Like they they pretty much predicted the quote unquote AI that we're using today. If you remember the scenes.
Are you talking about the robots? Or are you talking about what are you talking about now?
Uh I think it was the VCR when when Will Smith was like, hey, like play music, or hey, like giving it commands.
Yeah, but that stuff's been around for so long. Like if you watch the original Star Trek, it was there. If you watch like stuff back in the 1950s, it was there. So like all
Yeah,
of these
okay,
things were
that's
there.
true.
That's been around for a long time, right? So it's only now that we actually have it. And now we're not even thinking about it as some sort of miraculous technology. And this is also part of that whole thing about education. So this is where you get the minds, the visualizer, because the people who invent new technologies, they visualize the technology before we can create them. They think of the Star Trek communicator, and then all of a sudden engineers try to figure out how to make a communicator because they think it's so cool, right? So the same thing with AI. Like we've been thinking about AI for a century now, but only now do we actually have the technology to do it. Like back in Star Trek days in the 80s, you had Data, and he had a neural net, right? Like it's positronic neural net. And that's how we started doing AI back in the 80s that's successful. We did neural nets, so it's kind of like interesting how all of these like innovative storytelling shows and movies kind of push the technology forward because it inspires the technicians to create them.
So last question, because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Would you believe that AI will one day go too far if we continue to advance AI like it's going right now?
You mean artificial consciousness?
Yeah, AC. Yeah, like it wouldn't go too far.
I don't think like I said, we don't know what consciousness is. Number one. Now, there's also like consciousness is more complex than just linear existence in our reality. I know that for a fact because I've had nonlinear precognitive experiences, past life, future life experiences, all this kind of crazy stuff. So we could be in a computer right now. We don't know, right? The probability of being in a simulation is pretty high.
That is true.
So maybe the aliens and all the stuff that we see, or maybe that's the AI that's kind of keeping us from breaking free of the simulation. I don't know.
Damn
There's too
it!
many
I'm gonna be
questions.
yeah
Go
yeah.
ahead.
I'm gonna be up all night thinking about this. God damn it! Oh man, I'm the type of person that likes to, dwell and critical think on things, even if I can't really figure it out. I try to figure it out. Oh shit! But
Well,
Sandman,
okay.
do you have anything to say to the chat in general, or a certain subject?
Get your hands on stocks that are AI, like an ETF that owns like Google and Microsoft and like Meta and all these different companies. Like I own one called IYW. buy stuff like that. Do not sell it. Hold it for the long time. Buy little bits of pieces here and there of it, because these companies are going to start replacing workers. It's not the companies are going to like create their own AI. They won't be able to afford to. It's like Google, if it creates its own AI, or if Microsoft creates its own AI, they're going to start replicating it and start like charging other companies to use it as part of the IT business. So that's where I see things going. So if you have to own these companies if you want to have an opportunity to not be in poverty in another 10 or 20 years. Like seriously. Like that's a big problem. Like that's why like I'm putting half my net worth into these tech companies that are doing AI, because I think it's the future of work, of automated work, mental work. It's going to replace many of the things that I do. And then on the other side, I'm also investing in Bitcoin. So because I see that as the future of money. So I don't see like how you can lose if you own both of these things and only one of them goes up 20% a year. You're still going to get ahead of everybody else.
Now I got more to think about today. Fuck. Okay. Okay.
I see people in the chat saying like we need to get TFM talking about AI, right? But like I don't know what his take is on that.
Does TFM know? Like, is he not? Like, I'm not really knowledgeable about AI. I don't know if TFM is.
I don't know either.
But at the end of the day, Sandman, your input was very important today. Oh damn, there's another super chat. Sorry for stopping you. Give me 1 second.
Somebody says disagree with Sandman. Men will passport bro for jobs and have kids and freedom. Yes, men will passport bros. Look, like I will leave if they introduce a central bank digital currency. I am leaving Canada. I'm sorry, because I don't want like the government telling me, "Oh, you can't buy this food. You've eaten too much meat this month. You must eat more cockroaches." It's like, no, like fuck off. I'm getting the hell out of here. Right? That's part of it right there. Another part is, men want purpose. They want to do something that's going to give them purpose so they don't have an existential crisis. They'll go to third world countries where they'll have to dig ditches and build roads by hand rather than like sit around and play video games. Not all of them, but some of them will. But I think the majority of men are going to be content sitting and playing video games, fapping off to the oldies. They don't care.
Hey man, I completely agree with what you said. But thank you very much for joining the stream. You stayed a lot longer than you anticipated, but you still dropping gems as always. Thank you everybody in the chat for participating.
Oh,
and
just
whenever,
one more thing. Somebody's posting in the chat. They're saying Nvidia is a fantastic AI stock. Unfortunately, it's $400 per share. Nvidia is not only up because it's an AI stock. Nvidia makes graphics cards that are used by crypto mining companies. And if you look at the Bitcoin hash rate, it's exploding higher exponentially. So that's telling you people are buying up the technology and the graphics cards as fast as they can make them. So their profits are just going to keep going up and up as Bitcoin mining grows over time. But the trick is you want to make sure that you don't own just one tech company or a few. You want to own an ETF that has NVIDIA. The IYW fund that I owned, I think NVIDIA is the 4th or 5th highest holding in that fund. So, you kind of have to diversify when it comes to tech stocks.
Completely agree, man. Once again, hey, you guys need to listen to Sandman. He knows his shit when it comes to this. I'm learning right along with you guys. But
now Nvidia's PE ratio is now like 200, which like is signifying to me that it's way overpriced, right? So, but things like Microsoft and Google, the PE ratio, price earnings ratio, is like 25 to 35, and they're going to grow. They're going to double in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's a guarantee you're going to make money on that.
Oh, completely agree, man. Completely agree. I got something to say about this topic. Chat. I need you to understand that right now, I'm not here trying to go after the women. I'm not here trying to go after the men. We're just here trying to articulate and give you guys details on why certain people think that, oh, it's not our fault, it's their fault, it's her fault, it's his fault. And we just trying to give you the best reasonable reasons why. All right, like fuck the excuses. We're trying to give you the legit reasons. So when it comes to this information, and you go out there in the world and you see what's going on out there, you will have some type of idea like, oh, okay, I see why she's saying this. I see why he's saying that. I see why I don't trust politicians. You get what I'm saying, chat? But Sandman, like once again, you're always a phenomenal guest to join the stream. I'm going to be doing a replay myself. I'm going to watch the stream again because you definitely dropped some knowledge. Whenever you can in the future, you're definitely welcome to come back. If if you got subject, or if I can think of a subject that we can talk about, I'm always willing to invite you back so we can talk about it.
Yeah, no worries. Sounds good.
All right, man. I'll let you do your thing. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk again. Bye.
All right. Peace. All right, chat. Wait here for a little bit. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. Hopefully you guys had a good stream. Hey, let me know what you guys think about the stream. Let me know what you guys think about Hammerhand. I want some feedback because I'm going to get more guests. There's another guest coming tomorrow. Let me see what you guys got. Thanks, Sir Yeetus. Pretty good collab. Yeet Yeet, very good stream. Hammerhand a guest. Guys, I try to get Hammerhand as a guest, but he is way too busy this week. We weren't able to get a good schedule. So sometime next week, I promise you, Hammerhand will be on the stream. The Jaded Warlock. Who do you have next? I got Manic Mechanic. He's gonna be on my stream tomorrow, so definitely look out for that. Hammer is brutal. Lord says thank you. Just always good to hear from Sandman. We'll love to hear another collab with you. And Gone with John. Who's Gone with John? I don't know who that is. Who's Gone with John? Oh shit. Let me know who that is. But hey, chat, I'm gonna go ahead and let you do your thing. And Frost, I will bring TFM back, but it will not be on YouTube. YouTube got way too strict, and they're gonna screw me over. It will be on Odyssey or Rumble if I bring TFM back, so he's able to say whatever he wants without any repercussions. Oh yeah, Chillin' Chaz, we're gonna run a Street Fighter 6 set tomorrow. Hell yeah, we are. I already downloaded the game. I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. So best believe, you gotta get ready. You gotta get ready to get these hands. But there will be no outro today, chat. I will see you on Undead Chronic's channel. I will redirect you guys there. I am out. And thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming to this stream. I believe this is one of the best streams I ever had since TFM. I am out. Peace. And thank you, everybody that decided to donate as well. I didn't forget about you. And if I did, let me know so I can shout you out on the next stream. See you on Chronic's channel.